Hi guys, so we shall be seeing about strict liability and its essential elements of strict liability. So to make one liable under the law of torts, one must prove violation of legal duty due to one is fault, negligence, wrongful intent of the defendant. So these are the general elements for a person to be made liable under law of tort. This is something very general, right? So but for this general element, there is an exception called as doctrine of strict liability. So, doctrine of strict liability is an exception for all this above said rules. We shall see what is strict liability. So, strict liability is a person may be liable for some harm even though he is not negligent in causing the same or does not intentionally cause it or is careful or has taken some steps to prevent the same. That is what they are saying is, so a person might not be liable for some harm, that is he might not have been negligent at all, or he might have taken necessary steps to prevent that said act or said harm, but still he might be made liable. So that is what this said rule is laid down in Rylands versus Fletcher. So there are some essential these are the essentials of strict liability. These three are, so we shall see it in detail after the next slide. Before that, we shall see what is facts of the Ryland versus Fletcher. So in Ryland versus Fletcher, both Ryland and Fletcher were neighbors. So the defendant that is the Fletcher owned a mill for whose energy required he constructed a water reservoir on his land. So this Fletcher, the defendant, actually had a mill wherein he needed lots of electricity. So he thought of an idea that he could build a reservoir and he could himself generate the electricity. So that's the reason why he built a reservoir. So he gave this work to independent contractors and engineers. What happened is, due to the negligence of the independent contractor, the shafts that led the way to the Fletcher's mine were broken, which led the water into the mine, causing heavy loss to Ryland. So, in turn, what Ryland did is Ryland sued Fletcher. But what Fletcher defended himself, saying that, see, I did not did the said work. I gave this contract to an independent contractor, so you can't make me liable for the said act. So this was a contention of the defendant. But what the House of Lords said is, you are liable for the said act because even though you did not do this act, under your control this act was done. So at the end of this case, House of Lords gave some requirements for the essential elements. That is, first one is dangerous thing. Okay, so according to the rule of strict liability, here the liability for the escape of a thing from one's land arises provided the things collected was a hazardous thing, that is a dangerous thing, that is if a thing likely to do mischief if it escapes. So here in Rylands versus Fletcher, the thing so called was a large body of water. So here in the Rylands versus Fletcher case, he collected a large body of water. So so here the dangerous thing is large body of water. Not only large body of water is alone a dangerous thing, we can also say many examples such as electricity, gas, explosives, noxious fumes, etc. all comes under dangerous thing. Okay, so next is escape. Okay, so it is essential that the thing causing the damage must escape to the area outside the occupation and control of the defendant. So it should escape outside the premises of the defendant, that is it should go out of the control of the defendant, that he himself can't control it. So that is what the term escape here meant. So I'll just give an example for this. Here, if a person has poisonous plant on his premises and it is reaching out to the other person's land, the defendant cannot take the defense that the plant is originally on his land and only the branches are on the other's land. So actually it is a poisonous tree in one's land. So what he can't take the defense that only the branch is on your side, so I'm not liable for said act. So here I'll just kind of fully finish off this example. So if some cattle are coming and it is chewing those poisonous leaves and it is getting harmed, then obviously the defendant will be made liable, even though he has that poisonous tree in his own. It is not that he can do anything whatever he want in his own land, provided if it is within his land, it is not a problem. But here the branch of that particular poisonous tree has intruded into another person's land, and that is why the cattle has been eaten that leaf and it has gotten harm. So here there is an escape. The most importantly, the branch which comes out is concluded as escape here. Okay, next thing is actually, yeah, so this Red versus Lyons and Co case is something contradictory to the example which we saw earlier. Here the plaintiff was a worker in the defendant's shell factory. While she was performing her duties inside the defendant's premises, a shell which was being manufactured there exploded, whereby she was injured. There was no evidence of negligence on the part of the defendants, even though the shell which had exploded was a dangerous thing. So it was held that the defendants were not liable because there was no escape of the thing outside the defendant's premises, and therefore the rule of Rylands versus Fletcher did not apply to this case. So here actually only one ingredient is present, that is dangerous thing, but that dangerous thing is not been escaped. It is inside the premises, it is inside the defendant's compound itself. It did not go out of control, right? So here, even though there was an explosion, even though it was a dangerous thing, here the defendant cannot be made liable under the he can be made liable under some other concept, but under strict liability he cannot be made liable, because in strict liability escape is a very important essential element if it should be covered here. So there is no escape and he is not made liable under strict liability. Fine. So next essential element is non-natural use of land. So to constitute strict liability, it is necessary that the dangerous thing kept on the premises is of non-natural purposes. For example, in Rylands versus Fletcher, in Rylands versus Fletcher, okay, what happened? He collected a huge quantity of water in the reservoir. So that is something non-natural use of land. So just contradicted to that, we just have keeping water for ordinary domestic purpose is something very very natural use, just for bathing and washing vessels. It's all natural use. So that we can't take into account as non-natural use of land. So something which we keep in huge quantity, and that thing which if it escapes will go and affect the said petitioner or some other people, then it is said as non-natural use of land. So these three conditions need to be satisfied simultaneously to fix strict liability in any case. So without these three essential elements, you can't say it as strict liability. Thank you guys. Thank you.